The billionaire's son was born deaf, and for 8 years he lived in total silence. His father spent millions, trusted the best doctors in New York, and heard the same words again and again. Nothing can be done. The boy cried without sound, touched his ear every day, and suffered while everyone believed it was normal. Then one night, a maid saw something inside the child's ear that no doctor ever noticed. She was not trained. She was not allowed to touch him. And if she was wrong, her life would be over. But if she did nothing, the boy would stay trapped in silence forever. When the child screamed in pain and she made her choice, the sound that came out of his mouth seconds later changed everything. And what the father learned after that broke him completely. The billionaire's son was born deaf, and from that day, silence entered the Reed family and never left. In a private hospital in New York, a baby boy named Noah Reed opened his eyes for the first time. Nurses watched him closely. Doctors ran tests. Machines made soft sounds that Noah could not hear. His father, Michael Reed, stood by the bed, holding the small hand of his wife, Emily. She was weak, tired, and smiling at their child. She tried to speak to the baby, her lips moving slowly. Michael leaned closer, hoping to hear her voice. The words never came. Her hand slipped from his, and the room filled with hurried steps and sharp orders. Emily died that day, and the boy never heard her voice. Michael did not cry at first. He stood still, like a man frozen in place. When the doctor told him that Noah was deaf, that it was from birth, that there was no cure, Michael nodded without speaking. Inside him, something broke. He believed he had failed twice in one day. He lost his wife, and he lost the sound in his son's life. He carried Noah home to a large house in New York, a house with tall walls and wide rooms, and he filled it with silence. As the years passed, the house became quieter. Michael ordered the staff to keep voices low. No music played, no television stayed on. He thought it was kind. He thought it would protect his son. But the silence grew heavy. It pressed down on everyone. People walked carefully, spoke less, and learned to look away from the boy. Noah grew up watching mouths move and faces change. He learned signs from tutors. He learned how to sit alone. Michael loved his son, but guilt kept him at a distance. Every time he looked at Noah, he saw Emily. He saw the hospital room. He heard the words he hated. Nothing can be done. Michael did not accept those words. He had money, and he believed money could fix anything. He took Noah to the best hospitals in New York. Then he flew with him to other places. Doctors scanned, tested, and talked. They spoke calmly and with confidence. They said Noah was born deaf. They said it could not be changed. They told Michael to accept it. Michael smiled and paid them anyway. He paid for more tests, more visits, more hope. He believed that somewhere, someone would give him a different answer. Noah turned 8, and the answer never came. What came instead was pain. Noah often touched his right ear. At first it was small, just a quick touch. Later it became longer. Sometimes his face tightened. Sometimes tears fell. He cried without sound. Michael asked doctors about it. They said it was normal. They said children like Noah sometimes feel pressure. Michael trusted them. He wanted to believe them. The house looked perfect from the outside. Clean gardens, strong gates, bright windows. Inside, it felt empty. Noah spent his days in a sunroom with toys and paper. He lined up cars. He drew planes. He watched birds through the glass. Michael watched him from doorways and hall corners, telling himself that the boy was safe, telling himself that this was enough. Then, Sarah Miller arrived. Sarah was 27 and tired in a quiet way. She came to the Reed house on a gray morning, holding a small bag and a folded paper with the address. She needed this job. Her grandmother was sick, living in a nursing home that cost more money than Sarah had. Bills sat on her table back home. Calls came every day. She could not lose this chance. At the door, she met Mrs. Collins, the head housekeeper. Mrs. Collins spoke clearly and without warmth. You clean, you stay quiet, you follow rules. Do not talk to the boy. Do not touch the boy. Do not try to help the boy. The last worker who did that was fired. Sarah nodded. She understood. She had learned long ago how to keep her head down. Inside the house, Sarah felt the silence right away. It was not calm. It was heavy. She noticed how workers moved like shadows. She noticed how doors closed softly. Then she saw Noah. He sat on the stairs, lining up toy cars in a straight row. He did not look up. Sarah noticed his hand touch his ear. She noticed his face change for a moment. Something inside her tightened. She kept cleaning. Days passed. Sarah worked from morning to evening. She watched Noah from a distance. She saw how he sat alone while others passed by. She saw how he looked at his father when Michael walked through the room, and how Michael often kept walking. She saw the boy touch his ear again and again. No one else reacted. They were used to it, or they chose to not see. One afternoon, Sarah was cleaning near the sunroom. Noah was trying to put a small plane together. His fingers shook. The piece would not fit. He tried again. His face showed anger and sadness mixed together. Sarah hesitated. She remembered the rules. She remembered the warning. Then she knelt down and helped him fit the piece. It clicked into place. Noah looked up at her. He studied her face. Sarah smiled gently. Noah smiled back, small and careful. It was a quiet moment, but it stayed with her. That night, Sarah lay in her small room and thought about the boy. She thought about his pain. She thought about how alone he looked. She prayed softly, asking for guidance. The next day, she folded a small paper bird and left it near Noah's toys. She did not wait. Later, when she returned, the bird was gone. In its place was a simple drawing and one word, "Thank you." Sarah held the paper for a long time. Over the next weeks, a quiet bond formed. Sarah learned Noah's signs, not from books, but from watching him. She learned when he felt safe. She learned when pain came back. She noticed something dark inside his ear when the light hit it just right. It did not look normal. It did not look like what doctors had described. Fear held her still. She was only a maid. She had no training. She needed the job. Mrs. Collins watched her closely. Michael was distant and serious. Sarah said nothing. But the question stayed with her, growing heavier each day. What if everyone was wrong? What if the silence was not meant to last? And what if the boy was suffering while the truth sat right in front of them, unseen? Sarah did not know it yet, but her life and Noah's life were moving toward a moment that would change everything. The days after Sarah noticed the dark thing in Noah's ear were the hardest she had ever lived. She woke up every morning with a heavy feeling in her chest. She went to bed every night with the same picture in her mind, the inside of the boy's ear, dark, wet, wrong. She tried to tell herself that the doctors knew better. She tried to remind herself that she was only a maid, but the image would not leave her. Noah's pain grew worse. Some mornings he sat very still, his hands pressed against his right ear, his face tight like he was holding something inside. Other times he cried quietly, tears running down his cheeks, his body shaking without sound. Sarah watched from across the room, her hands busy with cleaning, her heart heavy. She wanted to run to him, to hold him, to tell someone, but fear stopped her every time. Mrs. Collins noticed the change in Noah too, but she said nothing. She only watched Sarah more closely. Her eyes followed Sarah in the halls. Her voice became sharper. "Remember why you are here," Mrs. Collins said one evening. "You are not family. Do your job." Sarah nodded, her throat tight. Michael Reed noticed the pain as well, but he chose to trust the answers he had already paid for. When Noah touched his ear, Michael asked the doctors again. They told him the same thing: pressure, discomfort, nothing serious. Michael wanted to believe them. He was tired of hoping. Hope had hurt him too many times. One night, Sarah could not sleep. She sat on her bed, holding her phone, staring at a picture of her grandmother. The nursing home had called again that day. Payment was late. One more missed payment, and her grandmother would be moved. Sarah felt trapped. She needed this job. She needed the money. She also needed to live with herself. She opened her Bible and held it in her hands. She did not read. She just sat there. "Lord," she whispered, "I am scared. I do not know what to do." The room stayed quiet. No answer came. Only the same thoughts returned, again and again. The boy is in pain. The next morning, everything changed. Sarah was sweeping the hallway near the garden door when she heard a soft sound, not loud, but wrong. She stopped and listened. Then she heard it again, a low cry, broken, full of pain. Her heart dropped. She followed the sound outside. Noah was sitting on a stone bench in the garden. His small body was bent forward, both hands pressed hard against his ear. His tears streamed down his face. His mouth was open, but no sound came out. He was crying with his whole body. Sarah dropped the broom and ran to him. She knelt in front of him and signed his name. Noah looked up at her. His eyes were red. His face showed fear and pain mixed together. Sarah signed, "Your ear hurts." Noah nodded quickly. "Can I look?" she signed slowly. "I will be gentle." Noah hesitated. His body pulled back a little. He had been touched by many doctors, many hands, many tools. Pain always followed. Sarah waited. She did not rush him. After a moment, Noah leaned forward. He trusted her. Sarah tilted his head toward the light. She looked inside his ear. The dark thing was there, bigger than before, clearer. It filled the space where sound should pass. Sarah felt her stomach turn. Her hands began to shake. How could this be missed? How could so many doctors not see this? Her mind went back to her cousin years ago, deaf for most of his childhood. Doctors said it was permanent. One day, someone finally looked closely. One small procedure changed everything. Sound came back. Sarah pulled her hand away. She signed slowly. "There is something in your ear, something that should not be there." Noah's eyes filled with fear. He signed fast. "No doctors, no more. They hurt me." Sarah's chest ached. She understood. 8 years of pain had taught him that help meant suffering. She took his hands and held them gently. "I would never hurt you," she whispered, even though he could not hear her voice. "I promise." She sat with him until his crying slowed. When he felt calmer, she walked him back inside and left him with his toys. Her mind was spinning. She had seen it clearly. She knew what it was, but what could she do? If she told Michael, he would call the same doctors, the same system that had failed Noah for years. If she did nothing, the pain would continue. If she acted on her own, she could lose everything: her job, her freedom, her grandmother's care. That night, Sarah did not sleep. She lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house breathe. She remembered her brother, Daniel. He had been sick as a child. They had no money for doctors. He complained of pain for months. No one listened. He died young, in silence, just like Noah lived. She had promised herself she would never ignore suffering again. But this was different. This was a billionaire's son. This was a house full of rules. This was her life on the line. The next 2 days passed slowly. Noah's pain came and went. Each time Sarah felt closer to the edge of a choice she did not want to make. Mrs. Collins watched her closely. Michael Reed was away on business. The house felt tense, like it was waiting. On the third night, Sarah sat on the edge of her bed, holding a small pair of tweezers she had taken from the first aid kit. She had cleaned them carefully. She did not know if she would use them. She only knew she could not pretend anymore. "Lord," she whispered, "I am afraid, but if you want me to help this child, guide my hands." The house stayed quiet. Peace did not come, but clarity did. Sarah made a decision. If Noah cried in pain again, she would not walk away. She would do what she believed was right, no matter the cost. She lay down, her heart heavy, knowing that the next day could change everything. And somewhere in the quiet house, Noah slept with pain in his ear, unaware that his world was standing on the edge of sound. The next evening felt longer than all the days before it. The house was quiet, quieter than usual. Michael Reed was away on business, and Mrs. Collins had retired early to her room. Most of the staff had finished their duties. The lights in the hallways were low. Shadows rested on the walls. Sarah folded clean linens in silence, her hands slow, her thoughts loud. She kept listening. Every small sound made her pause. Every minute that passed felt heavy. She did not want the moment to come, but she knew it would. Pain did not leave Noah easily. Then she heard it, a dull sound like a body hitting the floor. Sarah dropped the linen and ran. Her feet moved faster than her thoughts. She turned the corner and saw Noah lying on the hallway floor. His body was curled. Both hands were pressed hard against his ear. His face was wet with tears. His mouth was open, but no sound came out. Sarah fell to her knees beside him. "I am here," she whispered, even though he could not hear her voice. "I am here." She gently lifted his head and turned it toward the hallway light. She looked into his ear. The dark thing was there, swollen, blocking everything. Noah's body shook with pain. Sarah's hands trembled. This was the moment she had feared. This was the moment she had prepared for. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the tweezers. Noah saw them. Fear filled his face. He pulled back. Sarah set the tweezers down and took his hands. "I will not hurt you," she signed slowly. "I promise." Noah looked at her for a long time. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Then he nodded, just once. Sarah took a deep breath. She picked up the tweezers and cleaned them again with shaking hands. She moved slowly, carefully. She leaned closer and guided the tweezers into his ear. Her heart felt like it might break through her chest, but she stayed steady. She touched the dark mass. It was thick, sticky. It did not move easily. She pulled back gently. It resisted. Noah flinched. Sarah stopped. "I am sorry. Stay still." She tried again, slower this time. She hooked it carefully and pulled with steady pressure. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, it came loose. The dark thing slid out and dropped into her palm. Sarah stared at it. Years of buildup, years of pain, years of silence. Her hands shook so badly she almost dropped it. Then Noah gasped, a real gasp, loud, sharp, full of air. Noah froze. His eyes moved around the hallway. His hand flew to his ear. He sat up quickly, looking around like he had never seen the house before. He pointed to the wall. The old clock. "Tick," he whispered. Sarah covered her mouth. Tears poured down her face. "Yes, baby, that is the clock." Noah touched his throat. He felt the vibration of his own voice. His mouth opened again. "Dad." The word was broken, rough, new, but it was real. Sarah pulled him into her arms and cried. "You can hear," she whispered. "You can hear." Footsteps came fast down the hallway. Michael Reed stood at the far end, frozen in place. He stared at his son on the floor, then at Sarah's hands. Blood, tweezers. Fear filled his face. "What have you done?" he shouted. He rushed forward and grabbed Noah. "What did she do to you?" Noah flinched at the sound, then looked up at his father. "Dad, I can hear you." Michael stopped breathing. "What did you say?" he whispered. Noah touched his father's face. "Your voice," he said. "Is that your voice?" Michael's legs gave way. He dropped to his knees. Then his eyes fell on Sarah's hands again. Fear replaced wonder. "Security!" he yelled. 2 guards appeared. "Take her away from my son." "Sir, please listen," Sarah cried. "I did not hurt him." The guards grabbed her arms. Noah screamed. A loud scream, full of fear. "Do not take her," Noah cried. "She helped me." The sound of his son's voice filled the hallway. Michael froze again. His hands shook, but fear still ruled him. "Take her to security," he said. "Call the police." Sarah did not fight. As they pulled her away, she looked back at Noah. "It is okay," she mouthed. "You are okay." Noah cried loudly, the first loud tears of his life. At the hospital, doctors ran tests quickly. Michael paced the hall. Noah responded to sounds, voices, machines. He spoke small words again and again. Michael felt dizzy. A doctor called him into an office. "Mr. Reed, we need to speak." The doctor showed him an old scan. "Your son's record from 3 years ago. There was a blockage noted in his right ear. It was marked for removal." Michael felt cold. "Why was it not removed?" he asked. The doctor looked down. "Your account was placed under long-term treatment." Michael understood. They had known. They had seen it. They had kept his son deaf. He stood up. "Where is the woman?" he asked. Back at the house, Sarah sat alone in the security room. Her hands were folded. Her head was down. She prayed for Noah, not for herself. The door opened. Michael Reed stood there. His face was broken. His eyes were red. "Sarah," he said softly. She stood. "Mr. Reed, I can explain." "Do not," he said. He walked toward her and fell to his knees. "I am sorry," he said. "I am so sorry." He told her everything, the scans, the lies, the truth. "You saw my son," he said, "when I did not, when no one did." "I just loved him," Sarah said quietly. Michael shook his head. That was everything. They went back to the hospital together. Noah sat on the bed wearing headphones. Music played. His face showed wonder. When he saw Sarah, he ran to her. "Thank you," he said. Michael held his son and cried. For the first time, Noah heard it, and Sarah stood beside them, breathing again, knowing that sometimes miracles come from simple hands that choose not to look away. Dear viewers, sometimes the world tells us that money fixes everything, that power means truth, and that only important people can change lives. But this story reminds us of something deeper. A child lived in silence, not because help did not exist, but because no one truly looked. A woman with no title, no degree, and no power chose to care, chose to notice, and chose to act, even when fear stood in her way. Love did what money could not do. Attention did what years of treatment failed to do. And one simple act of courage gave a child his voice, his world, and his future. If this story touched your heart, please do not scroll away. Stories like this are shared to remind us to see people, to listen with our eyes, and to never ignore quiet pain. Please subscribe to this channel so you do not miss the next story. Like this video to help others find it, and share it with someone who needs hope today. Now tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Have you ever seen someone ignored who needed help? And do you believe kindness can change a life?